everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about we'll say changes to basic training. How things are getting a little bit harder. So if you're like me 3 months ago and you're about to ship off to basic training, you're watching all of the YouTube videos, about everybody else's experience and what to expect and, all that. And I'm just kind of giving an updated version. If you didn't know, I graduated basic training on the 18th of December, which was about a week and a half ago. So I have a pretty up-to-date experience, I guess you could say. And I will say, disclaimer, I went to basic training at Fort Jackson, so it's going to be a little bit different than if you go to, Benning or wherever else. If you go anywhere other than Fort Jackson, even if you do end up going to Fort Jackson, but you go in February and you're in a different battalion, your experience could still be different than mine. Every company does things differently. But the very first major thing that's different about basic training than that I was not anticipating is the PT test. When I initially enlisted, I was under the impression, just based on talking to other people and, YouTube, I thought that when you first get there, you take a diagnostic PT test, that the 1, 1, and 1, where you do 1 minute of push-ups, 1 minute of sit-ups, and you run 1 mile, and that's basically like a diagnostic of where you are. And then that in order to graduate basic training, you need to get to a 50%, by the end of blue phase. Wrong. They no longer do the 1, 1, and 1. So within the first 72 hours of you getting to basic training, you will take a PT test. However, it is a full PT test, as in 2 minutes of sit-ups, 2 minutes of push-ups, and a 2-mile run. Now, it's still a diagnostic. If you fail it, there are not necessarily any repercussions. But yeah, so you do take a full PT test. And then 2 weeks after you take that diagnostic test, you will take another PT test, but this one the results are more important. So this is the red face PT test. You have to pass every event with 30%. Now off the dome, that might not seem like a lot, but you'd be surprised how many people did not make it to 30%. And what they used to do in basic training, from what I understand from listening to other people, they would just push you along and you just need to show improvement, right? So even if you don't make 30%, as long as you're doing good and you pass that last PT test, you're still going to graduate basic training. No, they don't do that anymore. If you do not pass that red face PT test with at least 30% in each category, you're going to what's called FTU, Fitness Training Unit, which is basically fat camp. And when you get out of fat camp, more than likely, if it's that red face PT test that you failed, you're going to get recycled or restarted. They're not going to send you back to where you were because you were only 2 weeks in to begin with. So you need to pass your red face PT test with 30% in each category, your white face PT test with, I believe, 40 or 50% in each category, and your blue face, which used to be 50%, is now 60%. So when you get your blue book, when we got our blue books in reception, which is like a study book for all basic training soldiers, that the book is the same no matter where you go. The book even still said 50% in it. And then when we actually went from reception to basic, they said it's 60%. And that one's kind of a gray area because they're kind of, I guess, transitioning from 50 to 60. So that one's kind of, a few people graduated without making it to 60%, but only a few, and I mean like a handful, like 4 or 5 in the entire company. Everybody else made it past 60%, or 60% and above. So that's one major thing that was changed, is you don't take the 1, 1, and 1 anymore, and if you don't meet your phase requirements, you will get sent to FTU or recycled or whatever. They're not just going to push you along. and say, hey, you know, he's making improvements, you gotta hit your cutoff. You do still do 3 ruck marches: the anvil, the hammer, and the forge. Once again, the distance you go in each one will kind of change based on what company you're in. I had the pleasure of being in the honor company, so we did longer ruck marches than every other company in the battalion. So say Alpha Company would do 10 miles on the anvil, Bravo Company is doing 12, or Alpha Company might do 40 on the forge, Bravo Company is doing 45. So that one is kind of depends on where you go to basic training and what company you're in. But yeah, so the first ruck march is about 5 miles, second ruck march is around 10, the last one you're going to do around 40 to 46. But the thing about the last one is you're not going to like ruck 22 miles there and 22 miles back. It's 46 miles over 4 or 5 days, depending on how long you guys are in the field for. So you're going to ruck about 12 miles the first march to wherever you're spending the night or the day, because you don't sleep at night during the forge. You ruck at night and you sleep during the day. So you do about 12 miles there, and then each day you're going to ruck to whatever training exercise you're doing that day in the field, whether it be a night shoot, naked night, an obstacle course, victory tower, land nav, whatever you're doing, you're going to ruck to that, and those miles are going to count towards that 46. So it's not, I mean, it sucked, but you're not rucking 20 miles in a day or 46 miles in a day or something crazy like that. And the pace can vary. You're going to do about, what we did was about 2.5 miles in an hour. And you could, well, 2.5 miles in 50 minutes. Every 50 minutes we would take a 10-minute break. And that's basically where you stop and you pull security, which is you lay on the ground, you hold your weapon up and pull security for 10 minutes. But basically you're resting your legs or your butt back or whatever the heck. You take your ruck off for 10 minutes. Then you put it back on and you start rucking again for another 50 minutes. Falling out of the rucks marches is kind of a blurry thing too. If you fall out of the first two, you're still gonna make it. They're not gonna recycle you for falling out of the first 2 ruck marches. But if you do not make it on the forge, they're still not gonna recycle you, but they will make you take it on a track. So one other way that basic training is changing is weapons qualifications. So when I went in, you qualified in the prone, supported, prone unsupported, and then kneeling, and that's how you fire your weapon. Prone supported is just like it sounds. You're laying flat on the ground with your weapon. This is not a good representation, but you're laying flat on and you have your weapon sitting on sandbags. Prone unsupported, just take the sandbags away and you're holding your weapon still laying down, prone unsupported. And then kneeling is just like it sounds. You're kneeling and I did that wrong, but you're just kneeling down, firing your weapon. Here in the near future, they're going to add standing. So you're gonna have to be firing, I don't know how many rounds it is, but it's probably gonna be like 10 rounds in some sort of standing position. I don't know, we never got taught how to do that, but that's something that is gonna be changing in the near future. And those are just some ways that basic training is changing or getting a little bit more difficult. If you guys have any questions for me about, you know, how hard was this, or did you have to do this, or, you know, any questions and you're about to ship off, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and I'll be glad to answer those.